Hi, guys. How are you today? Thank you. I'm Ruthie Ackerman. I'm the deputy editor of Women at Forbes, and I'm going to ask my panelists to introduce themselves, their roles, and whether or not you sell on Amazon.
Awesome. So I'm not. Is mic working? Yeah, great. Good morning. How are you guys? So Sid Jutia, lead global e-commerce at Under Armour, the athletic and footwear company, which a lot of you probably know. I was actually bummed Vijay in his presentation never talked about an Under Armour shoe with the sneakerheads. So hopefully we'll change that next. So we do sell on Amazon, and we were probably one of the first brands to make that decision, at least in the sporting category. So we'll talk, obviously, in the next 30 minutes about a lot of that stuff, but I'm glad to be here. And I'm also excited, like the conversation has advanced in retail so much. I just remember the conversation all this morning, and I remember 3 years back, and we've all making leaps and bounds progress, so it's awesome.
Hi, I'm George Nara. I lead business development at Chico's FAS. We do sell on Amazon. We started just a couple of months ago, so we are learning a lot every day. Could probably learn a lot from Sid here. Excited to talk to you guys about it.
Hi, I'm Cheryl Kaplan. I'm president and co-founder at MGemi, which is a direct-to-consumer fashion Italian luxury brand, and we do not currently sell on Amazon.
Hi, everyone. I'm Josh Owens. I'm CEO of SupplyKick, which is a integrated marketplace retailer. So we help brands sell on Amazon, typically through the Amazon marketplace, taking care of marketing, advertising, logistics, and compliance.
And I cannot see the timer, so George, if you can keep us on time here and tell us.
You're asking the wrong person. I will do I'll do my best.
Okay. So let's start with Sid and George. You both sell on Amazon in some capacity, so what are the positives of such a huge platform?
Yeah, I think, the reality is, you think about just the media spend on Amazon, it's shifting dramatically from Google to Amazon, and partly because 55% of all searches in retail are starting on Amazon. So when you have such a stellar statistic, it's, that becomes a clincher quite a bit. And I think, Vijay talked this morning about need-based and want-based retail, and I think when it comes down to need-based retail, Amazon's the definite leader in that. I think additionally, you think about sort of the large pool of user-generated reviews there is, and I think having your product be symbolic around what the consumers really think about it and be accessible there, I think it's important to us. So I think those two things are probably the big drivers why we are on Amazon.
Yeah, and I would just build on that. I agree with what Sid said completely. I think for us, in terms of just Amazon's scale, our objective function was really around customer acquisition, and so that was one of our main reasons for getting on the platform. For us, one of the other benefits of their scale is their logistics network. So we're trying to take advantage of that, not only through our direct selling model with them, but in other creative ways. So I think those are, for us, acquisition and logistics were the two key reasons so we're taking advantage of their scale.
Great. And Cheryl, MGemi is not on Amazon, so I'd love to hear about that decision.
Sure. So we launched 3 years ago, and we launched with the direct-to-consumer model in mind. And so customer acquisition for us was never intended to be done through other channels and other retailers. And we do not sell wholesale. We only sell in environments where we are direct in maintaining the relationship with the customer. And so obviously, on Amazon, that's much harder to do. For us, we are direct to consumer. We're online. We also have pop-up shops. We just recently opened a store-in-store within Bloomingdale's. But again, that's our team. That's our look and feel. And so we're very much managing the relationship and the service and just the full end-to-end client experience.
Mm-hmm. And George, Chico recently decided to start selling on Amazon, and this is surprising for some because you're a vertically integrated brand and don't wholesale through others. So can you talk about what went into that decision?
Yeah, sure. So I think there are lots of puts and takes here. I think the three main reasons that drew us to the platform were, one, again, customer acquisition. Sid talked about the scale. We all know about how sort of pervasive Amazon is in search and so on and so forth. Another reason for us was to partner with them from an innovation perspective. Yesterday, we had a couple of panels talk about innovation. I would say that's not our core competency. And so while we're doing a lot around innovation, we're trying to be innovative, we're trying to listen to our customer and try new innovative things. We thought that Amazon could be a good partner with us in terms of innovation. I mean, they're doing lots of different things, particularly in the realm of tying together physical and digital. So we thought that was interesting. I think a third reason for us was to help us protect our IP, which may sound a bit counterintuitive, but we believe that actually getting on the platform and working with Amazon will actually help us manage our IP. For example, if there are counterfeiters on Amazon trying to sell our product, it's much easier to work with Amazon to get those counterfeiters taken off the site if you are a partner than if you're not. I think that was, I don't know, but what I've read about Nike being on the platform, that was one of their main reasons for being on the platform, was to help clean up their distribution and other things of that nature. But those were three key reasons why we thought that being on the platform would be at least a good thing to try out.
Yep. And Josh, as someone who helps brands get onto Amazon, how do you help brands police counterfeits and unauthorized sellers? And how is Amazon different than other marketplaces?
Yeah, well, I mean, what George was saying is a big thing that we talk with brands. Effectively, if you're not on the Amazon platform, then it's pretty difficult to manage what that brand experience looks like or what that customer experience looks like. Particularly now on the seller marketplace, you've got a lot of control. And so we're working with a lot of brands who want to be able to have that control and step in. It's not going to be perfect. It's not exactly what you're looking like on a direct-to-consumer website, but you do end up with a lot of control in that piece, and that's been really attractive. So it's really around management of that piece and then a proactive strategy. And so that's where a company, a retailer like SupplyKit can step in and be very helpful on that side. I don't know, Amazon's got a pretty bad reputation on that side, working directly with brands. And so, I mean, compared with other marketplaces, it's really just what are you trying to choose there? But the scale is so huge that, we encourage everyone to at least have some sort of strategy or test going on Amazon, because it's just, there's too much traffic to miss there.
Right, I would just say, so for example, the model that we use with Amazon, or that we've chosen to get on the platform, gives us control over all the content. So we control the marketing, we control the structure of the PDPs, we control our brand landing page, we control our pricing. And so in addition to having some sort of proactive management of our brand IP, we felt like, while not the most elegant shopping experience, right? It's more utilitarian than anything else. At least we have control over what the customer does see when she gets on the site, when she gets on our PDPs. It's our marketing, it's our imagery, it's our words that describe the product. And so there is a certain amount of control, depending on the model you choose to work with them, right? I think you guys don't do that.
We do 1P, yeah.
Okay, you do
I think you're exactly right.
Yeah.
Like,
it's
primarily,
it's a choice, right? It's a
you're
choice
trying
you
to
have make.
standardize how you show up as a brand, which has been challenging for a lot of brands initially when they go through the 3P. So, just for context for the group, and I think most of you probably are aware, there's a 1P model and a 3P model. 3P model is anybody can buy Under Armour products and resell on Amazon. So it could be an independent seller, it could be small business, it could be whatever. The 1P model is where you have a direct relationship with Amazon, and Amazon is wholesaling with you and selling it.
Right.
So I think where George is going is saying having the 1P model helps you establish sort of a new protocol in how you do business on Amazon, how your brand shows up. They help in counterfeit management. They help in suppressing some of the, non-authenticated resellers, and I think just helps with the brand there.
And George, you're talking about control, but on Amazon, you don't really know who your customer is. Am I right that that's what Cheryl was saying, that Cheryl decided to not be on Amazon because of the fact that she could have more control of that?
Yeah, you do have to cede some control. In terms of the information we do get from Amazon, of course, ratings and reviews is always helpful, and that's transparent to everyone. And there's a certain level of reporting that we get from Amazon on that, in addition to what we see online. So I think that alone is a helpful sort of data point that can be insightful. Secondly, we do get a limited amount of data from Amazon. Now, it's not everything, but it's enough for us to be able to market directly to those customers in specific ways that are acceptable to Amazon, right? The third thing that we've been trying to do, and we have been doing actually, is allowing customers to return their Amazon purchases in our stores. And so that for us was the linchpin for the relationship. And so, I don't think we've seen a ton of those yet, but we are starting to see, we're probably in the dozens and dozens of returns directly in our stores, and that allows us to create relationships directly with customers, and again, tying together the physical and the digital, which we think is important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'll just make a quick comment on what George was saying there. It is really about the relationship that you have with Amazon and what you're trying to achieve there.
Yeah.
If you're selling on the third-party marketplace, either a retailer like SupplyKick or yourself selling on that, you end up getting a lot more data, analytics, availability. While you don't have customer emails and those type of things, you actually do have a lot of remarketing efforts that you can take on that side of it. And so that's why we've said, in a case like Under Armour, it's a giant brand. It makes a lot of sense to work directly with Amazon. There's a lot of benefits there. For brands that are up and coming, those type of things, there's a lot of extra benefits on the seller side of just control. And so it really is truly about what are you trying to achieve and what do you want out of that Amazon experience.
What I would add, obviously, the other point of view, it's not just the data, although some of what you all mentioned is definitely a part of the decision making, but it's really about the experience that we're building and the brand and the storytelling. So, our best customers are those that visit our pop-up shops and then come online, or that, call our client services team and talk to them or chat. And so that experience is very different than if you go on Amazon or any website for that matter and just search for shoes and come up with our shoe. And then, let's say you find a pair of our shoes and it says it's $248, but our shoes aren't $248. You're getting them for $248, but they're $900. So, if you don't understand what MGEMI is and it's a new brand and we're still building and telling that story, then it doesn't have that background to go on. And so it's very hard to tell some of that story that we're trying to tell about quality, about the handcrafted nature, all of that in a line item.
I have a rapid fire question for everybody. Other than your own brand, who is the best example of a brand selling on Amazon and why?
I can go. I think Levi's has done well on Amazon. I think, let me actually ask a question. How many people shop on Amazon for shirts and shoes?
No.
Right? So few. I think in that, if you had asked 2 years back, it's probably even less hands. So the question is, there's definitely a consumer segment who's getting more comfortable on Amazon, and I think brands like Levi's, they've done well with segmentation. So segmentation essentially is what products are you going to sell on Amazon versus direct. So, for example, if you want the laser tab jeans, you're not going to get it on Amazon. So they've done well. They've done well with content. They've done good with education. So I think that definitely comes to my mind.
I was actually going to say Levi's as well. I think generally speaking, we, because content is, so we look at the PDP as effectively the acting as a store associate in the relationship. So it's trying to explain all of the benefits of the product. It's not going to do it as well as having a direct relationship with the customer, like Cheryl was saying. But we look for examples of brands and retailers that are trying to push the envelope in terms of communicating the essence of the product and the benefits of the product on a PDP without having the direct communication with Amazon. I think Levi's does a great job of that with their content, explaining the benefits of the products they're selling, video, imagery, and so on and so forth. So that's how we look at. We try and find brands and retailers that are using their PDPs in new and creative ways to communicate the benefits of their product to the customers.
I would just make like a sort of a counterpoint. So we were talking about brands which are doing well, But you think about like brands like Bombas, which is like a sock company, right? It's a new age sock company, make really good sock. And their whole thing is, they give out a pair of socks to the needy for everything. But like imagine trying to tell that story through Amazon.
Yeah.
So I think, again, it's a great platform for need-based retail. But when you come down to even sock, which is essentially need-based retail, but your entire story is want-based, it's about the emotion which goes in that category. So it creates a contradiction for some brands in terms of how you tell that story. So I think even for Cheryl, like I can totally understand, right? Like it's a new brand trying to build clarity around who they are, what their value proposition is. So I think Amazon's not for everybody, right? And I think we all probably entered this room thinking that. But I think you have to understand just ultimately that the amount of consumers who raise their hand today, there'll be more of that tomorrow. Right. So how do you really adapt to a consumer journey? Because we did some work where we said, how many people shop multi-brand retail physical? How many people shop multi-brand retail online? How many people shop mono-brand retail? And the number of people who shop just mono-brand retail, which is UnderArmour.com and Under Armour stores, it's still a fairly slim number of people when you think about the total number of shoppers out there. So I think it just becomes interesting, and we're talking Amazon in North America, but you think about companies like Zalando, you think about, I was in China last week, Alibaba and Tmall. Mm-hmm. That world is here to stay, right? And I think the question will be, how do you make sure your brand identity doesn't get lost in multi-brand retail?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I would just say, going back to the point I think that we've been making, one of the points we've been making, Josh was making earlier, is depends on what your objective function is and what your goals are. So, Cheryl could be sitting up here as a new brand who's trying to build awareness, and she could be saying, well, maybe my objective function is reach, and I'm willing to sacrifice being able to tell the story for the reach. And she's saying something very different. She's saying that they've decided they don't want to do that. Maybe in 5 years she'll change her mind. Who knows? They'll be in a different sort of place in their maturity as a brand, and they're ready to, or they need to get to the scale that Amazon might be able to provide. But I think the key is, or one of the keys is, what are you trying to achieve, and can Amazon help you achieve that? And different puts and takes on that.
You want a time check? 7
Yeah.
We
You
got
want to give me a time check?
We have you.
7 minutes.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So we talked about counterfeit and unauthorized sellers a bit. So can a brand really opt out of Amazon, or is it a game of whack-a-mole?
That's a good question. I mean, I think if you, I think it's very difficult to manage your brand IP if you're not on the platform. I think Amazon will not, in my experience with them so far, proactively help you manage, but they give you the tools to reactively manage. And if you find counterfeiters on the platform, they will take those sellers down. And so that's what we found that to be the case. So I think they can be good partners. And again, it helps if you have a relationship with them, but you've still got to monitor the site.
Yeah.
Right. They're not gonna go out of their way to do that for you. So we partner with other people to help us. We monitor it. We have outsourced resources that help monitor it. And once we find folks who are trying to use our IP maliciously, we then go to Amazon and say, hey, here's the evidence. We need your help to take this down, and that's how that model works.
And the good news is they realize that counterfeit kind of diminishes the customer experience on the platform. Right. And ultimately, good customer experience is good for the brand. It's good for Amazon. So I think they've come a long way. They come a long way in terms of having great tooling for counterfeit management. Account management is a lot in place. So I think there's a lot of progress. And again, I think to your point, is it completely eliminated? No, it isn't. But again, I look at 4 years back. We've been working with them for over 4 years now, I think. And it's a totally different ballgame now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is a lot of, I think your two perspectives working directly with Amazon are really helpful here. But, I would say one of the nice things, especially about a company like yours, Cheryl, is when you've got control of your distribution, you actually have a pretty good leg up on Amazon. It's pretty difficult to have random pricing and random sellers when you actually have most of the control of where your product is. And so that's a pretty awesome opportunity to actually come in on the marketplace side and control what that experience looks like. That's completely different than like an Under Armour, for example, that has multiple points of distribution. So, I would just say the way in which you've built the business also matters a lot in the way in which you come to Amazon. And we've worked with a ton of companies that have effectively had pricing issues and had issues with counterfeit or the wrong sellers. And that's something, on the bright side, that's something that can be cleaned up. It just takes effort and it takes the knowledge of what you want to achieve there. Particularly when you've got more control of your distribution, it's actually relatively straightforward.
And Cheryl, do you think you'll ever wholesale MGemmy through other channels? And what would a retailer like Amazon have to do?
So, this point has come up before for us. The good news is, as we're building this brand and, we're going into our 4th year, retailers have been reaching out to us for wholesale opportunity, which is exciting in some ways. But on the flip side of that, the Bloomingdale's relationship is a good example where we did not just want to be shoes on the floor or shoes on the site. And so it was very important to us as we were talking to different retailers and deciding where to start, that we would have a store within a store and build our brand and have our own team working there and trained and really develop the relationship and the experience that we were looking to bring to life. So, again, I think that for us, having all those points of communication and owning that experience is critical. I could talk all day about why MGemmy's great and the brand, and so I don't think that would come across if it was just in a line list, like I was saying. So for now, I would say we're stuck in our ways in terms of owning that experience.
And rapid fire for everybody. Looking into your crystal ball and predicting the next 5 years, will there be more or less brands selling on Amazon?
Every brand will be selling on Amazon. I mean, I think it literally will be every single one. I mean, there's too much development on the marketplace side. There's too much opportunity, and to exactly what you were just saying, Cheryl. There's too many opportunities to have limited control and test there. So I think within the next 5 years, everyone's going to be in some form. But I would say that's also true of Walmart. That's also going to be true of Alibaba. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very tempting for brands. It, of course, comes up in conversation, I think, probably on everyone's, table. But I don't know if it's 5 years, but I do think that the combination of people tempted and wanting to test and try things mixed with Amazon being who they are and very innovative, I think that they will continue to try to figure out ways to work with brands like ours and Bombas that are trying to do something different. So I'd be shocked if there wasn't some innovation there to try to figure that out.
Yeah, I mean, I think marketplaces are here to stay. To Sid's point, you've got the Tmall's of the world in China who are growing massively as well. I do think that as Amazon will have to work on sort of more proactively securing brand IP, which I think they will do. I think they will probably work on innovating on the experience because I think their experience is somewhat utilitarian. I think they'll do that. I mean, they have stated, and they want to win in apparel. I think that's what Jeff had said. Food and apparel, it's sort of the two categories he wants to win in or he needs to win in, and they've demonstrated that in food clearly, in grocery. So I think they're here to stay. I think they're going to do a lot more to improve the experience, to improve their tools for managing IP, which are a couple of the major dings that they get. I don't know if they're going to be more transparent in sharing data or not, but I think sort of collectively, if you look at the different puts and takes, size, reach, experience, et cetera, I would be shocked if they didn't continue to grow share of apparel. I think they already have half of online apparel. I think if that might not be right, something like that. maybe a third of online apparel, and I expect that to continue to grow.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like we didn't share our notes together, but pretty much the same perspective, which is, there's a lot of Trojan horses in terms of private labels Amazon has today in apparel, and I think a lot of us are startled when we hear the number like 1/3 of apparel is Amazon. But I do think, I don't know if it's going to be Amazon itself or it's going to be an Amazon affiliate. The idea of discovery, the idea of one-page shopping and how it shows up with Amazon, that has to fundamentally change for all of us to raise our hands next time we're in the room. Because personally, as a consumer, we sell on Amazon, and this is just not an Under Armour viewpoint, but it's my personal viewpoint. I'm still not shopping apparel on Amazon. So I think the question really becomes, is it the UX? Is it the content strategy? Is it the storytelling? Is it the elevated merchandising? And I think, honestly, I don't know if Amazon wants to change the experience they have today to be that. Because the way it works is because it is that. So the question really is it a parallel side? Is it, I don't know. I mean, again, we'll find out because obviously they talk about that, I'm sure, in the halls pretty actively. They have a brute large force, so it's not lack of resources or money, which is holding them back on better UX. So
Walmart's doing interesting things in their UX, and they're starting to, or they have already sort of pivoted a little bit more towards storytelling, and they're working to build their marketplace. And so it's possible that, I mean, who knows if Amazon sees that and that's working, maybe Walmart becomes a larger force in the marketplace sort of sphere. We don't know. But
or do they acquire ASOS or somebody in the world, right? Like, I mean, you think about ASOS and the marketplace they have. It's probably the best marketplace from an apparel perspective, or Zalando. So, I mean, it's probably not out of question. I mean, I'm not going to sit in potentially suspect here, but I mean, we will see what happens. But I think they'll be successful, and we'll probably have a lot more hands next time.
And I wanted to end with Cheryl, kind of echoing what Sid and George are saying. Do you think there's another platform that's going to evolve, that's going to cross-sell products like yours?
I mean, I don't want to repeat what they said. I think, there's just a number of factors, right? There's the cost, so part of our offering is that we don't create this very high margin on our product. So I'm just adding this as something that hadn't been talked about, but for us, it doesn't make sense because we're trying to pass along as much of the benefit to the customer as we can. So it's yet another reason why we would be held back. So look, I think that the people there are really smart. I agree. They're talking about this. They have to be direct to consumer is obviously something that a lot of people are working on now. And so I think that, I think they'll get creative and they'll figure something out. I don't think it will be in the same format it is today. And it'll be interesting to see what comes of it.
Great. Do we have time for any questions?
The red light is blinking.
The red light is blinking. All right. Well.
The dreaded red light.
Oh, and the guy saying right. Okay. Thank you all for being here with me today, and thank you all for listening.
Thanks.